Welcome to Superhouse. We are the Batman podcast you deserve and the one that you need. Exactly, right over here. I am the man who knows too much about Batman. I am Ben Wan, and I'm here with...
Andrew, the guy that lives in a world of Indeed. What's going on, everybody? I'm ready to fucking get the Ben tutelage once again.
And once again, we are going over Christopher Nolan's trilogy of The Dark Knight versus the comics that they're based off of. So, Batman Begins.
What are we doing again?
Yeah, I forgot. I'm just like, I forgot this episode.
Oops.
Okay. Yes, we're talking about Superman today. Now, Batman, we're going over... This is the next installment. We did Batman Begins versus the comics and pitted them against each other. It was a very close, but only one of them won out. Which one was it? You'll have to watch it yourself to find out. But this is the next installment, and it could be anybody's game at this point. We are very early on, and not only will we be competing each movie against the comics, but we'll be competing the overall trilogy in the end.
By the way, how this is going to work, because sorry, Wolfie's not here today. He's camping or some shit. Who the fuck knows anymore?
Got taken out by the Joker.
Yeah, he's taken out by the Joker and Mr. Freeze. But so if we draw, does that mean just 0 points?
I'd say 0.5 points.
0.5. Okay.
Each thing gets 0.5 because we both say it's good.
Okay.
So I think each one earns 0.5 of a point, but not a full point because we didn't wholeheartedly agree.
Okay, I got you.
Got it.
All right, that's how it works, everybody. Now
right.
I'm in the clear now too. So.
All right, so maybe you can be the scorekeeper on this one. So
I got it in my heart.
Okay.
My phone's somewhere. I don't know. Here we go.
Or maybe
we just started, so it's gonna be okay.
So before we begin, I just wanted to have a shout out to a lot of our social media followers who have been supporting us for a while. Simone, aka World of Mirror, who we did an interview with. Thank you very much. Also, Heroic Gateway, Best Batman Facts, and one of the greatest Batman fan artists out there, Shadowverse ENT, aka John Regan. Thank you very much. My manager at Believe Land Management, thank you very much.
His representation.
My representation, yes.
This is called being legit, everybody.
We try. And then for a lot of you guys who have been with us for a while on Instagram, Paul Gabriel, Batman.mg_blogger, Stephen Walden, Alter Bra P04 Gaming, Jose GTZ_00, and Mitch 11 Soul. Thank you all very much for this, and hopefully you enjoy this episode.
I'd also like to thank Big Butt 69 on Instagram for all those DMs.
Oh, that's what those are for.
Don't worry about that, Ben.
Okay, I'll ignore them next time. So just like before with Batman Begins, I cited what the comics, the influence actually were before we went into it.
Yeah.
So, just like with Batman Begins, there was a lot of different comic research that went into this movie right beforehand, especially because we had a few new characters. So, obviously one of them was Mr. J himself, the Joker, and that was probably the most anticipated part of this movie was the Joker himself, and I don't think
teed up with that card at the end.
Yes,
right?
Exactly. It's been teed up. Everyone knew he was going to be in the next one.
Right.
So, what comics did they draw off of? Unsurprisingly, Alan Moore and Brian Boland's The Killing Joke was one of them.
Long Halloween, because every single person takes an influence from that.
Yes. So Chris Nolan said for Killing Joke specifically, he says, I definitely feel the influence of the Killing Joke, not so much in the specifics as in constructing some sense of purpose for an inherently purposeless character. That is to say, the Joker is an anarchist, he's dedicated to chaos, he should really have no purpose, but I think the underlying belief that Alan Moore got across very clearly is that on some level, the Joker wants to pull everybody down to his level and show that he's not an unusual monster and that everyone else can be debased and corrupted like he is.
Yeah.
No, I think that's conveyed in both stories.
Make you break your one rule.
Yes.
He's always trying. He's like the devil for Batman. He's tempting him to.
Yeah. So I thought that was definitely conveyed.
Yeah.
As you said, the Long Halloween. So David Goyer said, "quote For me, there are three major comic book influences within the Batman lore. There's Year One. There's the Neil Adams stuff." Which he's referring to the 1970s run that Neil Adams did with Dennis O'Neil, which included a story called The Joker's Five-Way Revenge that may have also been influential on the movie because it came up with the idea of how insane the Joker could be. And then lastly was The Long Halloween. And he says, by the time The Dark Knight comes out, it will become apparent that Long Halloween is the preeminent influence on both movies.
There's even like just throwaway lines like, I believe in Harvey Dent.
Yeah.
They throw that's in there, which is really effective, in the movie
yeah,
and in the
exactly,
comic.
Exactly. So they clearly
Yeah.
read it. Nolan himself said that The Long Halloween has a great triangular relationship between Harvey Dent and Gordon and Batman, and that's something that we very much drew from, and I think it's pretty evident in the movie.
Right.
That's where that came from.
Right.
Heath Ledger himself did a ton of research into the Joker, specifically not just reading The Killing Joke.
He was in a fucking motel.
Yes.
Making himself go fucking crazy.
He said, he literally says, quote, I sat around in a hotel room in London for about a month, locked myself away, formed a little diary, and experimented with voices. It was important to try to find a somewhat iconic voice and laugh. I ended up landing more in the realm of a psychopath, someone with very little to no conscience towards his acts.
You ever heard the Tom Waits interview in the 70s?
Yeah, I've seen that.
You've seen that? It's pretty
possible.
fucking close, man.
Yeah. So
He
even with
sounded
the
like
stuff.
this.
I have a growing level of popularity throughout the intercontinental United States, Japan, and I travel extensively in Europe as well. I don't do half bad.
They tell me you have a new market now in Ireland. Is that true? Yeah.
I've performed in Dublin and done very well there as well.
You look like a leprechaun. You should do well there.
Well, I'm also big in Philadelphia.
Excuse me.
I feel like I'm at my grandmother's.
Now we're back.
All right. So one of the other ones was Grant Morrison's work with the Joker.
Yeah.
First one being Arkham Asylum, A Serious House on Serious Earth. But an even
A
closer,
dream that is in canon. That's what fucking Matt Morrison said.
Really?
It is a dream
Matt
that is
Morrison or
in
Grant
canon.
Morrison?
Grant Morrison.
Okay.
Grant Morrison.
That's an interesting take on it. And it's certainly
Yeah.
drawn that way by Dave McKean.
Yeah,
But a more obscure one that was influential was a story in Batman 663 called The Clown at Midnight. And Grant Morrison himself brought up how he looked at Heath Ledger's Joker diary
Okay.
after he died. And he said, quote, he actually had a whole list. This is the list that Joker makes of things that make him laugh. The list include blind babies, doctors, accidents, really horrible stuff. Heath wrote it all down, so yeah, I can see there's a lot of Arkham and Midnight in his Joker because of the fact that so much of those things drew off of Joker's list in the Clown at Midnight story.
Okay.
And
I
there's
have
other-
not read that one.
Yeah,
It sounds good.
It's I'll go into it later, but there's definitely some bits in it that are directly influenced or directly referenced in the movie.
Okay.
So
Okay.
we'll get into that when we get into it. But
What
that
about Batman 666? Did he did he like that one or what?
the Damien one?
Is that what it was?
Yeah, Batman 666.
Man, they should have had Joker because Joker is his devil.
True, but
know?
they had this whole thing with Damien and the devil, and that's what he wanted to go with that one. So
Damien's a kid in what, The Omen too, who is
Yeah.
the son of the devil or whatever,
Yes.
or is Satan himself.
Yes.
So I get it. It makes it's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine.
but those are the number of influences, and there was one more, which is the Golden Age Joker stories. So
Okay.
Nolan.
So Ledger was doing serious homework. This is Ledger or
This
doing
is Nolan, actually.
Nolan doing the. Okay, yeah.
However, he
Yeah.
did say this was a little bit afterwards. After they had written it out, they looked at the comics again, and they said, wow, this is really close. So he said, quote, if you look at the first two appearances of the Joker ever in the Batman comics, we were quite startled to look back at those and realize how close that character is to what Heath's done and what our story is. I think it's very close to the original incarnation of the character some 65 years ago. 65 years ago at the time. Now, 80 years ago now.
Since 2008.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God damn, man.
It's Joker's 80th anniversary this year because he was created in 1940.
Oh my god.
Also,
dude.
how old are we now that it was... Anyway.
It's 2020 at the time of this recording.
Yes.
So if you're watching
Yeah.
YouTube in 2050, I don't know what you're doing here.
YouTube's going to be gone at that point,
Yeah.
and we might be dead.
Yeah.
The Joker co-creator Jerry Robinson also served as a consultant on this movie.
He did.
Yes. And I don't think that tradition can continue because Jerry Robinson, unfortunately, is not with us anymore. And neither is Bill
He
Finger.
was probably like 200. How old was he?
I don't know.
He was old as hell, man. He created the Joker as a grown man in 1939.
He was a
something.
teenager, actually.
he was a teenager?
He was a
Oh,
teenager.
okay.
That's how he was. Yeah, that's how he was still alive.
Oh, okay. Makes a little bit more sense
Yeah,
now.
it does.
Yeah.
But yeah, those were definitely the influences. So to tie into this Golden Age influence on The Dark Knight, I do want to go into where does the title The Dark Knight come from?
The comics, of course,
Of
bro.
course,
Easy.
yes, but yes. Thank you, Andrew. But
Any more
specifically,
brain busters, teach?
specifically, I know we covered in our Shadow versus Batman, is Batman a ripoff of the Shadow episode. The Shadow used to be called the Knight of Darkness.
Oh my God,
beforehand.
again.
But
Elijah, that one's for you, man.
Bill Finger did call Batman the Dark Knight in Batman #1 during the first Joker story.
Okay.
He said,
Batman #1, not Detective Comics 27.
No. It was a little bit later.
Yeah.
In the second year of Batman comics.
Okay.
In one of the most seminal issues, because not only was it Batman #1, but it was also the first appearance of Joker and Catwoman, as well as Hugo Strange making the Monster Men, which is what he's most known for now.
Oh my God.
So it's the one of the most important issues in comic history.
Jesus.
But it's also one of the ones that most people don't realize is where he was called the Dark Knight for the first time. So Joker punched Batman off a bridge, and Batman fell into the water, and it says, quote, "The shock of cold water quickly revives the Dark Knight." And that's...
So Batman #1, there it is.
Yeah, Bill Finger just slipped that in, and it's been
Stole it
the
easily from the
the
Shadow.
yeah. He's like, I don't have enough room for Knight of Darkness in here. I know a way to abbreviate this. So that's how it started.
Nolan, you're welcome. He can tell the future as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Who's Nolan? Says Bob Kane. He's
Don't
like,
worry about
Don't worry about it. Yes. So
Rich guy, not born yet.
the opening sequence.
Yeah.
Then, did you see this opening sequence with I Am Legend like I did, or did you see it with the movie?
I saw it with I Am Legend.
Yeah, I did. Okay, yeah.
Oh,
so
wait. You know what? No, I'm getting that confused with Dark Knight Rises.
with Mission
because
Impossible. Yeah.
if you're new to this podcast, I'll let you know. I lived in Japan from 06 to 09 teaching English. This movie came out in 2008, right when I was living in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the I Am Legend thing passed me by.
Gotcha,
I don't think
okay.
they did all that shit.
Yeah, no. It was specifically for those who weren't around at the time. Nolan likes to do this thing where he puts a prologue or a little preview, a little snippet of his opening sequence. He pre-releases it and attaches it to a Warner Brothers holiday movie the year before.
Mission Impossible,
Ghost
whatever.
Protocol,
Yeah.
and then now, but at that point it was I Am Legend. And so a lot of
Yes.
people were going to see I Am Legend just for this opening, and it was purely just
Yes.
the bank robbery scene. It was almost the same. It wasn't quite the same level of hype, but it was almost like in 80, 89, or 88, really, where they released that first trailer.
Yeah.
And people went to the movies, bought tickets just to see that trailer, and then walked out afterwards. So many people probably went
Got
to
my
see
money's worth.
I Am Legend in IMAX, probably just purely to see this.
I remember thinking, we haven't done, I guess we're doing like personal thoughts
A
later,
little bit, yeah,
But like,
we could, yeah.
I remember thinking, I was like everybody else. I was just regular Joe Bro.
Yeah.
Like, Heath Ledger, that guy, he can't be the Joker. He's an idiot. and then you know what happened. You know what happened.
Yeah, well, you can't say that these days, really.
Yeah.
People will jump down your throat.
It was just like the 10 things I had about you guy. It was Mr. Mom all
Knight's
over again.
Tale, yeah.
I didn't
exactly.
live through Mr. Mom. I was 4.
You know
what I mean? I wasn't reading
no.
Starlog magazine in '89, so I didn't know anything.
Yeah, It was a surprise to everybody because he was not on anybody's lists. So
Yeah.
I totally thought at the time one of the big rumored names that I thought was totally going to get it was Paul Bettany.
Paul Bettany was
Paul
up
Bettany
for it?
was up
Wow.
for it. Well, it turned out that I don't think they actually talked to him about it, but he was
Yeah.
heavily rumored, and he had just been in Da Vinci Code. He had been in so much
wouldn't have
stuff,
been bad.
and he
Wouldn't have been
he seemed like the type of actor you would cast that Nolan would cast.
Yeah.
Into this, and he
Yeah.
had like the look and everything, and he had the background of playing a psychopath in Gangster #1. So
Yeah.
like, that's who I thought it was going to be. And then Heath Ledger was announced when I was overseas, and at the time had no access to internet until I got back home, and I saw everybody was freaking out about it.
Paul Bettany and Heath Ledger. A Knight's Tale.
A Knight's Tale, exactly.
Yeah.
So
Connection.
Interesting.
Everybody, you're welcome.
Yes. So, but one name, there was one actor who Nolan talked to about it before he went to Heath Ledger, and that was Adrian Brody.
Okay, yeah, I can. Yeah, he's got a face.
He's got the face. He's got a face. Yes.
Although he should be the shadow, but yeah.
He would be a great shadow too. Yeah.
Got the note, the schnoz-ola for it.
Yeah, he said, "quote I did."
I can say that.
Yeah.
All right.
When he was asked about it, Adrian Brody said, "I did. I met Chris on that. Heath was tremendous in that, but yeah, I would have loved to have done that. It was an amazing role. Obviously." Him being a very good sport about it, because what the hell else can you say about the fact that you almost got the role that someone else has arguably became one of the most iconic versions of that. So
he went on to do Predators.
I think that Brody could have, he might not have been this Joker, but he could have been a great Joker in his own right.
Yeah, he could have been great.
And
could have been great.
It'd be awesome to see him in a comic book role. I think he's underrated personally. But
where has he been? He was big for a while.
He's been in Wes Anderson movies, I guess.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I mean, but yeah, I don't know,
It's not the same. Yeah. But Heath Ledger did, as we covered in our Batman Begins deep dive, Heath Ledger had talked to Chris Nolan about the possibility of playing Batman in Batman Begins, and he turned it down because he's like, there's no way I'm going to be in a superhero movie.
Oh, yeah.
And then he saw Batman Begins, and Nolan went to him and was like, how about now?
I thought about this. We talked about this before. I didn't think about it, but in 2008, I mean, Iron Man come out the same year, so he hadn't seen Iron Man either, more than likely. He might have never seen Iron Man, honestly.
He might not have.
No,
he didn't.
The timing of
his
death.
He died in January. Yeah, he died in January, and Iron Man came out in May.
Yeah, unless he saw some crazy cut, like before effects or some shit.
It's not like he would have been interested in that, yeah.
So, the Marvel tone hadn't been figured out, and, think about it, most superhero movies were complete shit. I mean, other than Batman 89 and, Batman Returns and 78 Superman and the second one. When was the second one? 81 or some shit? Anyway, there weren't that many, because if you were, a younger millennial, the 90s had some fucking terrible superhero shit.
I mean, they still had done the X-Men and the Spider-Man movies, so it wasn't like it was complete crap.
That's true. Actually, I forgot about that. But the overall quality was not great.
It wasn't considered this. A lot of people credit Dark Knight for being, they called it the godfather of the superhero movies because of the fact that, if you weren't a Batman fan beforehand, you became a Batman fan because of the Dark Knight.
Yes.
That's what this movie did, and suddenly Batman... Even though Batman Begins had done its part in terms of rebooting the franchise, it was really The Dark Knight, I think, that got people to be like, okay, Batman is associated with quality movies now.
I mean, yeah. People like my dad that grew up with Adam West, they would say, he was like, oh, this is a real movie. Yes, this is very real, pretty as real as you can get with everything, all the comic book shit going on. Yeah.
Exactly, and that's reflected in that opening sequence. So let's get to the actual.
We're back to our scheduled program.
This is what this actual program is about. Okay, so most of the Joker henchman sporting clown mask is pretty obvious that it would become part of it, but it's also been in the comics a lot, including the Clown at Midnight.
I killed the limo driver, or whatever. The bus driver.
I killed the bus driver.
Yeah.
The Clown at Midnight by Grant Morrison, as well as The Man Who Laughs, which is by Ed Brubaker and illustrated by Doug, I want to say Mankey. I've never heard his name pronounced out loud, so I'm taking a crack at that.
It's a Mankey.
Okay.
Nope. I don't know.
So that was a retelling of Batman #1. A modern retelling of Batman #1, the first appearance of the Joker. But in both of those, the henchmen wear clown masks, or at least makeup that looks similar to what's in the movie. They also feature the deaths of a lot of the henchmen, because everybody who's part of this heist, except for the one obvious person, is dead at the end of the sequence.
Right.
And they kill each other. And that's been a tradition that dates back as far as the Joker's Five-Ray Revenge, which was this 1970s story that rebooted the Joker, and it was the first time that it sort of hypothesized that Joker's actually insane and that his MO is not something that can be predicted.
And we're not just having funsies with large, keyboards or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
You know
in the 1940s version, Joker, sure, he had this image, but his MO was pretty generic. He stole diamonds, he wanted money and everything. It was pretty clear, he was just a common criminal. He just happened to have a gimmick. And then when they lightened him up, it was he was a prankster, and that was pretty much there was no idea of him being insane until Dennis O'Neil and Neil Adams came up with the idea of Joker is a homicidal maniac, and a homicidal maniac you cannot predict.
This was like in the 70s?
In the 70s, with the Joker's five-way revenge.
There might have been like a true crime boom going on then as well. This is when the word serial killer came out.
That's when Dirty Harry came out. Like,
yeah, 70s were like the 90s, but worse.
Yeah.
Like lots of darkness going on. And yeah, I mean the whole serial killer thing, like Ted Bundy and all that, like people reading those books, there's no way that stuff didn't seep into Batman, crime noir pulp comic kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah.
So
they even have names, like the fucking Zodiac Killer or whatever. Like like the Joker. It makes perfect sense.
Exactly. So
yeah.
The Joker's five-way revenge is about Joker killing off his henchmen one by one, because he knows that at least one of them ratted him out. So he's just like, well, I don't know which one it is, so I'm just going to kill all of them. And that was the story. So that was what it was. Obviously, if you've seen this movie, and if you haven't, then God, what the fuck are you doing watching this? But you know that one of the henchmen is actually the Joker himself. And the mask that he wears has the blue eyebrows, red around the eyes, a red nose, and blue frowny lips. And a lot of people have noted this before, but I'm going to bring it up here. That is the same type of mask that Cesar Romero wore in his first
opening, right?
In his opening
debut.
Yeah, his debut as the Joker in the episode The Joker's Wild, season 1, episode 5.
That was badass.
Yeah.
I loved that. I saw that meme like a few years after, but yeah, it was great. Really good stuff.
Plus the juxtaposition of the frown, and when he takes it off, he's got the smile.
Right.
So that's there. But that does bring me to another point. When we first see Joker, he's standing on the street just in broad daylight, and then the car comes by, and he puts on the mask and he goes inside. And then the only other time we see him is when he's got the mask on. When he takes it off, he's got the green hair and everything. And I'm like, when did he have time to change? Like, when did he or makeup or anything? Or was he just out in broad daylight as the clown and nobody said anything? When the fan pulled up, they didn't notice that this guy looks kind of weird. Like, it's kind of weird to me.
Maybe they already know he wore that paint and stuff. I don't know. I actually haven't thought about that.
It was weird to me. It was something I thought about when I first saw it in I Am Legend, because I'm just like, I know. Okay, full disclosure. Before I saw the prologue in I Am Legend, I had the entire sequence almost spoiled for me. I forgot how, but somebody had
reading shit online.
I was reading stuff, and I was like, that sounds interesting. And then I watched it, and I'm like, okay, so I know that's the Joker, blah blah blah. But then I'm just like, wait, why is he out on the, like, if he's on the street, then I'm just like, okay, so I'm guessing at some point he does he changes and transforms, and then he takes off the mask and he's already there. I'm like, how does that work? And then nobody was able to answer that for me. So
it's movie magic, man. Don't worry about it.
But that does bring us into the Joker's appearance, which will be the first thing that we sort of have our little round in terms of movies versus comics, because obviously the Joker looks very different than the traditional Joker that you see here. So as you can see, most of the time the Joker either has neat slicked back hair or curly hair. He has a permanent white skin complexion due to his dip in the chemicals. That
was not in Dark Knight though, right?
That was not in Dark Knight, but I'm just describing the general Joker look.
Yeah.
And then the red lips, and and most of the time he is smiling, but usually it's not a permanent one. And then he's he's all dressed up to the nines in a purple suit. This Joker is very different. So he most notably is the scarred smile. Now, this is not the first time that we've seen a Joker with a scarred smile. The first time was actually in an Elseworlds called Batman Gotham Noir by, once again, Ed Brubaker, and drawn by Sean Phillips. And what's interesting...
Brubaker's known for being a little bit on the dark side, right?
Yeah, there's a character named Jack Napier, who's supposed to be Joker, of course, but his lips are sliced. And what's interesting as well is Sean Phillips, and we'll put an image up here, Sean Phillips drew the Joker, and Joker looks like, not Heath Ledger's Joker in the movie, but Heath Ledger.
Okay.
He actually looks like Heath Ledger. It's
you think there's something too, like before this, we had just known really 89 Joker? Yeah, right?
In terms of live action?
Live action.
Yeah, and Romero, but yeah.
I mean, yes, and Romero, but it's such a different
Most people
take.
discount it. Yeah.
Such a different take. It's a good take, but different take.
Mm-hmm.
And they're both older gentlemen.
Yeah.
Playing it. Well, it was like
True.
his 50s or something.
Yeah, they both. So there's at least a 15 to 20 year
there's
difference.
There's something about. Also, we know Heath Ledger at the time. By the way, younger millennials, he was like I remember a girl saying he was the hottest guy alive, imaginable. So I remember hearing that. He was big in college, and there's something really tragic and great about that. Like him, like this good-looking guy, young guy that has become so fucked up, so fucked up.
It's also, I think, the only time, at least in live action so far, where the Joker actor is younger than Batman.
Yeah.
Romero was older than West, Nicholson older than Keaton, Leto's actually older than Affleck, and Phoenix is definitely older than whoever they're casting as Batman, if in that continuity, if they're going to do that.
That's true. He's way older. Yeah,
he has to be.
Something about having there's something tragic about how young he is.
Yeah,
in this movie.
That's that is definitely something that I have thought about too, in terms of who was this guy and what made him turn into what it is. And it's not really addressed, but there is something of he's barely recognizable, even when even in the close-ups and stuff. And if you look past the scars on this thing, you can't recognize him as the same guy at all.
Yeah, I mean, yes, exactly.
Yeah. Ledger's Joker also bears most famously a resemblance to artist Lee Bermejo's version of the Joker. Now, a lot of people connect it to the Brian Azzarello and Lee Bermejo comic Joker.
Bermejo?
Is it Bear?
I
have no idea.
I'm assuming. I don't know.
Well, this artist,
Bermejo,
this artist drew him with a scarred smile in that comic. However, that comic was released after the movie.
Okay.
But he had previously drawn Joker like that in a panel in Lex Luthor Man of Steel in 2005.
Oh, yeah, I've read that one.
As well as did, for the site Batman on Film, he did this interesting fan art where he did a Joker with a scarred smile for his imagining of what a Nolan Joker would look like. And then he had a similar thing for Two-Face.
Yeah.
Which also looked kind of similar to the Aaron Eckhart one, except for his idea, it was Denzel Washington as Harvey Dent instead. So obviously the other side had a different look, but the scarred side looked pretty similar.
Right. Okay. All right.
And then lastly, the only other one that kind of had a scarred smile was the Joker himself. I mean, obviously the Joker himself, but the Joker in Grant Morrison's comic, The Clown at Midnight.
I haven't read that one.
So Joker in a previous episode gets shot in the head. He gets shot through the face, and so there's some plastic surgery, and then when he takes it off, I don't know why a bullet through the head causes this, but he has a scarred smile in
rictus grin.
He has the rictus. He has the cuts over here.
Okay.
And it also
he has cuts as well, not just a muscle nerve thing.
No, it's not a muscle. Cuts. It's not a muscle nerve thing. It's the cuts.
Okay.
It's the cuts.
I gotcha.
Again, I don't know how a bullet in the head causes that, but whatever. But
I could see it causing a muscle thing, but
because that was in '89.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But yes, exactly. But yeah, with cuts to the mouth, that's just a creative license going on that one.
So there's also mention that says, quote, until there is only a single Joker voice smacking its lips in the huge echoing emptiness of a place. So the lip smacking of Heath Ledger may or may not have come from The Clown at Midnight. It was said in the documentary I Am Heath Ledger that the prosthetic makeup for the scars would sometimes loosen and crack. So Ledger would do this.
Went with it.
Ledger went like this in order to keep it there while also making it a character choice at the same time.
I had a friend that was in college when we saw this. No, it was after college. Anyway, he didn't like that. He thought that was kind of overdone, the smacking of the lips.
Right.
Like too many nervous ticks kind of makes it seem, to him, it made it seem like it was just too much unnecessary acting. Like too many.
I can see that.
Too many superfluous choices. But for me, I fucking love it. I love that shit. Like I could go with ticks all day.
Right.
So yeah.
That's not the only thing that was different, of course, not just a scarred smile. It's the fact that his skin is not actually bleached. He wears makeup, of course.
Yeah.
In this, it's very clear that he wears makeup. The only other time that we saw that was with Cesar Romero, and we only really got that because of the fact that he had white over his mustache.
Over the mustache,
and obviously that meant that was makeup, as opposed to if it was a chemical bath, he would have a green mustache.
Yes.
Which, I don't know. Maybe they should have just done that instead. I don't know.
Yeah. It would have been, yeah.
Well, you would have had to dye it. Yeah, never mind. That's
would have changed the whole history.
Also, Joker wears lipstick, obviously, in order to make this happen. The only time that we saw that was in The Dark Knight Returns, where he had a certain poison lipstick, I guess kind of taking a page out of Poison Ivy's playbook on that. Otherwise, the suit kind of pretty much looks like the traditional one. It might be a little bit more tattered looking,
Right.
but it's the regular thing. So, first one up, the traditional comic book Joker look or the Heath Ledger Joker
Oh man,
design.
It's so tough.
If we can just do this as a draw if you want.
It fits the movie so much, and Ledger's Joker's so fucking iconic.
Yeah.
But there's so many comic versions of the Joker too.
Yeah, but most of them are this.
With a suit and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh man. I could change my answer tomorrow, but I'm gonna actually go Ledger
Really?
for
Okay.
this one. Yes.
All right. We're going to have to call this one a draw. 0.5 on each side.
Can you put 0.5 on your
Yeah,
document?
I'll put it
Sorry,
on. I'll put it on here.
We
will
didn't
do
plan this part out, everybody.
Don't tell them that.
We plan everything
Make it
else out.
seem
though.
like we don't know what we're doing.
We know what we're doing, baby.
So when I first saw the image of Heath Ledger's Joker, my immediate reaction was, "What the fuck?" on it because
Yeah, I always want to know your reaction.
yeah,
to this.
because I was not happy. It was also a weird image because it looked like the image from. Have you seen the poster of like dead presidents where it's just like the white face and everything?
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
everywhere in the 90s.
Yeah, it was that type of thing. And so you didn't see the green hair. It was literally just the raccoon eyes, and it looked like he spilled pasta over his lips.
You were like, this movie's gonna be terrible.
I didn't think I wasn't sure if it was gonna be terrible. I'm just like, what the hell is this type of thing? I
Right.
felt they went too over the top with the
Right.
darkness, and it took me a while for me to put a finger on like why does this bother me? And I think the reason why is that, and I've said this in a previous episode too about Joker, is that I just prefer a Joker who looks a little less obviously scary, or a little less obviously scary in his look. He should be scary in his mannerisms, I feel, or should be down to. That's why
He's maybe even goofy, kind of goofy, and then when that
Right.
fucking killer comes out, it's like, whoa,
it
what
makes
the
it
fuck?
more unpredictable as opposed
Yeah.
to somebody who you just feel scared of him the whole time. Like there's
Right.
something unnerving about him while watching him. So
Right.
honestly, I had less of a reaction. This might be controversial. I had less of a reaction to that when I saw Leto, even though I didn't really like the tattoo and the grills either. But it was like, okay, this is a little closer to the idea that I have. But when I saw the Phoenix Joker, sure, it's not the traditional Joker, but I honestly preferred that in terms of like if you're going to mess around and try to recreate how he looks. I liked that. I liked
It was
Phoenix's
good.
a lot
Yeah.
in terms of just because there's nothing about the actual clown makeup that unnerves you. It's all in Phoenix's performance and his eyes and
Yeah.
his own stuff. And I kind of wish that Ledger had the same thing in
Phoenix,
this movie.
they went with the super classic look too. You know, it looks like the makeup is taken straight from the deck of cards.
Yeah,
You know, they didn't.
yeah.
So even if they weren't classic Batman, they were straight up classic Joker card.
Yeah.
You know what
That's
I mean?
true.
So there was something good about that choice. I
Yeah,
felt.
so
Yeah.
I was like, look, he doesn't necessarily have to look exactly like the comic book character, but I would prefer something that looked a little neater, and I also thought the neatness kind of ties into the fact that he's a very theatrical guy. He's upset
Right.
when people upstage him and things like that, and so
Right.
for him to be very sloppy about his appearance and look like he never showered in like the last 2 years.
He was in that motel, man.
Yeah.
Outside of London.
I get it, but still. So I personally have never been a huge fan of the design of it. That doesn't mean that I don't like the performance. I love the performance. I just feel like he didn't necessarily need to look like that in the movie. So
I'm not crazy.
0.5.
I'm not. Whenever he says that,
I'm not.
that was like, that Nolan is so fucking good. If there's one thing Nolan's really good, well, he's good at a lot of things, but one of the things he's really good at is tension.
Yes.
Oh
yeah,
my
yeah.
god, the shot, like think about that shot of just Joker on the side of the street, just one fucking guy.
Yeah.
You don't even see his face.
Yeah.
It's so fucking tense. And at the time of this recording, Tenet, like the fucking trailer for that, it's literally a dude breathing. Like,
You don't know what's going on either.
it's fucking tense as shit. God damn, he can do tension.
No, this is I think that's one of the big things that makes this movie is the tension
Yeah.
that's there and the unnerving feeling that you get out of every time that he's on screen.
Yes. Yes.
So that's, as I said in the review on Joker, like Phoenix played a human being, but Ledger played like a force of nature. He is
Yes.
he doesn't feel human in that
Yeah.
sense, and it's so different that I couldn't really. It's hard to compare the two different performances because they're so different
They are really different. Yes.
and what they're dealing with.
Nolan, I think, was a literature major at Oxford.
Really?
Yes, didn't even like go to film school. Literature. All right, everybody. So there you go.
So get on your Audible, listen to all the classics.
Yes.
I think that's most evident when Dark Knight Rises. We'll get into that when we do that episode. But the Tale of Two Cities,
Dark Knight Rises. I remember that. Yes.
I read the whole thing before I saw the movie.
Because Nolan said it.
Because Nolan said that was an influence. I could see certain connections. So we'll go into that when we get to that.
But wow. There you go.
But the movie that influenced the non-Batman type of movie that influenced The Dark Knight was, of course, Michael Mann's Heat.
Yes.
And then bank robberies.
Oh my god, dude! Yeah.
Cops versus robber types of things. Heat featured actor William Fichtner in there playing Van Zant, who betrays De Niro's character, which leads to a great scene where De Niro's like, what am I doing? I'm talking to an empty telephone. Because there's a dead man at the other end of this fucking line. I'm like, yes.
Right.
But almost as a tribute to that, William Fichtner was cast as the bank manager in the opening of this.
And he's trying to kind of like be a hero too, or something like, we're different from you. What's his line again?
Well, he was talking about, he's part of the mob because it's a mob bank. So he's like, criminals in this town used to stand for something. What do you believe in?
Yeah. I was just trying to set up the Joker's
he's different
MO,
from the
which
mob.
is no MO.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Fichtner was not the original choice for this, though. Dwight Yoakam was considered for a lot of different roles. He said, quote, there was a never-do-well cop who's one of Gary Oldman's guys, so he was either up for Wirtz, the corrupt cop who Two-Face kills, or Stevens, who was the guy who tries to beat up Joker in the interrogation room. It wasn't clear which one. He said, I couldn't really focus enough to deal with that in terms of more than one scene. So then they came back to me and said, we know you don't have time to do that one, but can you do this one instead? And it was a banker who had dealings with the Joker, and I wanted so badly to go do that banker and mess around with Heath Ledger, but I just couldn't do it. So scheduling-wise, it didn't work out, unfortunately.
Yeah, I could see him. He actually doesn't he have like similar like thin face as Fichtner?
Probably, yeah. So maybe that was the idea, but it was a cool sequence to flip the usual bank robbery on its head and be like, here's a bank manager with a shotgun.
Right, yeah. Bank, because it's Gotham. Everybody's corrupt. It's city's turning in on itself.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's the Heat influence is definitely felt there. So bank manager, one of the things I love, the best part about this sequence, in my opinion, was when he puts the grenade in the guy's mouth, and it just turns out to be gas, and he doesn't blow his head off or anything.
Because it's not about violence; it's about fucking with people. But sometimes that involves violence.
You don't know when. It's almost like for Joker, if you predict he's going to kill you and then he kills you, it's not funny.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
If he's unpredictable about it, that's why it's funny. Notice every single time somebody gets killed at least in the bank robbery sequence, it's when they least expect it.
Right.
And then when the bank manager totally thinks his head's going to get blown off, he doesn't get killed.
Right.
So, so then after Joker kills the bus driver, he drives the school bus out, which always kind of threw me because I was just like, here's the school bus lining up with a whole bunch of school buses just driving out of this bank, and nobody says anything about it.
I would assume that he joins that line, and and then he dumps it somewhere right after, but it's just too much screen time given to that. Given to that
I know.
part of it,
I'm like, this is kind of weird. There's a huge hole in the middle of the fucking bank, but whatever.
And they know it was that bus, obviously. It's just weird.
Yeah.
It's weird.
It won't be the first time that Joker deals with school buses in this movie, as we see later on with the hospital.
Yeah.
But anyways, we go to a sequence afterwards that one of the things I loved about it was the whole, like, the bat signal has that effect on criminals. This is the one
that was good.
That Wolfie referred to in our Begins ep, where the criminals, the guy gets scared out of a drug deal because he sees the bat signal up ahead. And then we go to a garage where Scarecrow, lo and behold, is a drug dealer. And this is where, as I said in the Begins ep, I'm just like, it was a little disappointing that Scarecrow costume is no longer the straitjacket. He's just back to the regular, he's back to just a regular, business suit. And I'm just like, you don't work at Arkham anymore. You don't need to do this.
Right.
But whatever. The Chechen is the Chechen mob boss in this, and he's, I think, one of the few mobster characters who were created for the Nolan series. So
you gotta add a little bit of spice.
Yeah, so they wanted to have more than one mob boss because I guess they didn't want to just have Maroni. So the Chechen's there, but we also get to see the gang of copycats of Batman,
Right.
all
Oh,
dressed
yeah.
in Batman cosplay
not
and
wearing
hockey
hockey
pads. Yes.
Yeah.
There are a bunch of Batman imitators in the comics, but it seems like the most likely influence of this was The Dark Knight Returns, where after the mutant gang sees Batman beat the shit out of their leader, they all start painting their faces instead of the mutant stuff. They paint their faces with the bat symbol and claim to be like one of him, and they use guns and stuff. And it's not until Batman arrives to basically tell them like no guns and this is the weapon of the enemy that that they end up falling in line. No background is given to these copycats, so we don't really know.
It's kind of a throwaway plot line.
It really is, and I'm not really sure if it was that needed in it either, but it's an interesting idea. It's just definitely a movie full of ideas. I'm just there's some stuff where I'm just like, I'm not sure if you needed it, but it's kind of cool it's there. This is also not the first attempt to bring Batman copycats into the Batman movies. If you guys checked out our Batman Returns deep dive into the previous scripts, the original Batman 2 script by Sam Hamm had a gang called the Red Berets, who were also inspired by Batman to fight crime in there. So that was a previous attempt. Batman, of course, stops the Scarecrow, as well as ties up the imitators, says he's not wearing hockey pads, and then he goes off to the bank
Famous line
to talk to go talk to Gordon. And they talk about how they're going to trace the mob money through irradiated bills.
Okay.
And that's actually a plot point from the serial from 1949, Batman and Robin, where Batman and Gordon use irradiated bills to trace ransom money.
Oh shit! Okay.
So we'll cover that when we get to that.
So they also covered Rico case or whatever the fuck.
I don't know if that existed at the time. There's no mobsters.
When
they
mentioned Rico, I was like, "This is some true crime shit going on now."
In the serials, that I don't think the Rico thing was around
Probably
at the
didn't
time.
exist.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I'm joking. I'm sure it did not exist at that time.
There was what I do like this little character moment where Gordon brings up the Joker. And he's like, should we be concerned about Joker? And Batman's like, one man or the mob? Like, he does not see Joker as a threat whatsoever in the opening. And I do like that. It's very similar to Dennis O'Neil himself, the guy who reimagined the Joker. Scarecrow's out of this, so we might as well replace him. The guy who reimagined the Joker, Dennis O'Neil, did his own version of Batman's first meeting with the Joker in Legends of the Dark Knight #50. And in that one, the Joker gathers a whole bunch of criminals to sort of do his bidding. Batman crashes it because he was tracking those criminals, and he looks at Joker, and he's like, "Who are you?" And Joker's like, "I'm a clown that they took for ransom to try to entertain them. Please let me go."
Okay.
And Batman's like, "All right, go ahead."
Yeah, well,
And then the criminals are like, "That was the Joker, man." And Batman's like, "I don't know who that is."
Yeah.
And I'm like, I love that idea of like, he doesn't know who, he doesn't,
there has to,
he has no care. He doesn't care right now.
There has to be a beginning.
Yeah.
At some point.
Yeah,
when you're weaving a tale.
Right now, he's just like, I'm focused on the mob.
Right.
Some guy in a clown's, okay, whatever, until he actually sees what that guy can do.
Right.
So, that's what's cool. The next bit was something I totally predicted before the movie, which was that with Wayne Manor burned down, the Batcave has been relocated.
Yeah.
So, as we see, it is kind of in the heart of the city. It's not necessarily right under the Wayne Tower, but in the comics, it was he did move into Wayne Tower at one point in Batman,
like Wayne Enterprises or whatever.
Yeah, in the Wayne Foundation, in a story called One Bullet Too Many in Batman 217. Dick Grayson had just left for college from Wayne Manor, and Bruce, I guess, emotionally didn't want to be around so many reminders so much, so he moves into a penthouse in the Wayne Foundation and takes a secret elevator to go underground to go into his own Batcave that's underneath. And it makes it a lot easier. It makes way more sense to me for his headquarters to be in the city, so that he doesn't have to drive.
It makes sense, but it's like the Burton Batmobile for me.
Yeah,
the cave, man. It's just so fucking iconic.
It's better when
I need a proper cave.
Yeah,
I need a proper cave.
I agree, and
that
so
kind of hurt my heart seeing in this. It was fine. I get it, but it's just.
I don't.
Batman, he's the Batcave, bro.
I don't mind the idea of a temporary Batcave in it. I just felt it was a little weird that it just basically felt like, here's this warehouse with a computer.
Yeah, I know. and Nolan feels you never really had a proper Batcave, right? Or no?
Yeah, because like the first one, he's just starting out, and then the second one, it's the Bat Bunker. is what they call it.
Bat
And then
bunker,
the
yeah.
third one is kind of close, but like
it's closest. Yes, true.
he hasn't used it in years, and then
Yeah.
he uses it for like a couple of days, and then he's out of commission. So
Yeah.
he didn't really have much of a Batcave.
And then Jiggles goes spelunking, and then there you go, finds it.
Exactly. But
Joseph Gordon-Levitt is Jiggles.
I kind of wish that it looked a little different. Like the Batwoman TV series actually has the Batcave situated under the Wayne Tower, and it looks.
She has her own Batcave.
Well, she inherits it from Bruce.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So she finds the secret entrance. She goes down and she finds the Batcave that's located there.
Yeah.
And it looks way more. And people are going to kill me for saying it's better than Nolan's, but like it is because it looks like an actual Batcave. Maybe
Yeah,
maybe it's not
yeah.
a legit cave, but like it's dark. There's actual bats in there.
Nolan
Like,
didn't like the cave.
he didn't
stayed away from it as long
too
as he could.
unrealistic or something. But I'm
Yeah.
just like, this is just a fucking garage. Like if it's not clear enough already, like as much as I do like the movie, the visual aspect of it, I've never really agreed with in terms of
Too realistic.
how he redesigned everything. The only design that I really like in this movie is Two-Face because he looks like Two-Face. Everything else, I'm just like, okay, that's your
What
take
about
on it.
Nurse Joker, though? I'd love that. Grant Morrison was the first to make Joker cross-dress, too.
Actually, yeah, I was going to get into that for part 2, but yes, he did have Joker cross-dressed in the original draft of the Arkham Asylum comic.
Yeah, it was a Madonna,
Yeah.
the pointy boobs.
I think he does. You do see him wear high heels, though, if you look closely in the
Okay.
in the actual comic. When
I
David
mean, if you
Keane-
got a guy constantly putting makeup on and like something traditionally associated with that of the feminine gender, women. However, I can say this the best. Yeah, I don't think it's not that big of a fucking thing to have a guy cross dress.
No.
And also a guy that wants to break every rule ever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know. Anyway,
It's about the fact he does not care about anything.
yes, indeed.
When Bruce is down there, he's obviously on the Bat computer, but he takes his shirt off at one point. And you see his back is just covered in scars. And this feels like a reference to, visually, it seems similar to a famous image that Alex Ross drew of Bruce, where like his back is just
I know
covered
exactly
in
what you're talking
scars.
about. Yes.
Yeah,
Exactly.
So that seems to be a reference to that. I think the first time that was ever mentioned, even though we didn't quite see it, was in The Brave and the Bold number 197, where Catwoman sees Bruce Wayne's back and just comments on all the scars that are there. On there, it was a tale called The Autobiography of Bruce Wayne. But I think that was the first time that was even mentioned as a possibility, or the idea that like he's been out for so long that he keeps taking damage to himself.
Right. Oh yeah, it's this whole Batman is human thing.
Yeah, exactly.
He gets fucked up.
Yeah, and that's why Alfred says the whole, know your limits, Master Wayne.
Yeah.
So when we get back from the break, we will go into the next most important character in this, the second most important character, as you can say.
Hey everybody, it's Andrew. I just wanted to tell you about our friend Israel's retro gaming shop, Retro Co. If you go to retro-ko.com, you'll be able to see all of his retro gaming goodies. If you wanted to get that Sega Saturn hidden gem from back in the day, or if you wanted to get the Famicom disk system that you never got as a kid, or any other type of retro game that you were into, or import game, please go to retroco.com. That's retro-ko.com. And if you use the Superhouse code Johnson's Ballsack, you'll be able to get a little bit of a discount at checkout. So please, once again, if you could just go to retroco.com. You can also go to facebook.com/retroco with no hyphen. That's RETROKO. You'll be able to find him on Facebook as well. If you were looking for that PlayStation import game that you never got, if you were looking for that Mega Drive game that you never got, or any other kind of retro game, any import game, it could even be European, Israel also curates bundles at RetroCo, and he'll curate that bundle just for you. So please go check him out. If you put in the code Johnson's Ballsack at checkout, you'll receive a Superhouse discount. And
All right.
we're back.
Oh, yes, we're back. I'm like, wait a minute, what are we doing? Okay.
What's happening?
And we're back. So, we are going to go into, as I said, the second most important character in this. The first, honestly, is probably the Joker, actually. So maybe the third most important, but I said the second because he's known for the number 2. So, Harvey Dent
I want to see this hair.
is played by Aaron Eckhart in this movie. This is a Two-Face figure from Batman Child of Dreams. It was
That's cool.
It has its own sort of unique take on all the different characters. Batman himself kind of looks like he's patterned after Michael Keaton.
Okay. Is that a good
it's
good
written,
run?
and you know what? I've never read it.
wow.
But I do have the toy of it, and it's written and illustrated by Kia
Asamiya. Is a
Asamiya.
Japanese American, or
Yeah.
maybe it's a Japanese person of some sort.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's what this design is based off of. So I'll put
Cool.
Harvey back here, but this is the figure that I had while there was speculation on who was going to get cast as Harvey Dent, and Harvey was cast way after Joker.
Oh,
It
really?
always felt like it
Okay.
maybe a year or so, or it felt like a long time before we found
Yeah.
out who played Harvey Dent. So there was a lot of speculation on who it was going to be. And since Nolan had just cast Heath Ledger, everyone started being like, maybe he'll cast somebody we don't expect.
Right.
Maybe he'll cast like this random guy, or like Philip Seymour Hoffman. I'm just like, okay, look, just because he casts people you don't expect doesn't mean he's going
Right.
to cast someone who looks completely different
Right.
from what you would anybody.
Nolan had to wait till he saw "Thank You for Smoking"
Yeah.
to really.
Seems like it, but
Yeah.
there were a few actors he approached first, or at least considered. One of them was Matt Damon. Matt
man.
Damon said, quote, "I couldn't, there was a scheduling thing. I never spoke to Chris Nolan. I'm a big Chris Nolan fan, but I never spoke to him." So it seemed like Nolan tried to get a meeting with him,
Yeah.
and it didn't work out.
Yeah.
But clearly they did meet later to work on Interstellar.
That's true.
So
Yeah.
there was that.
Yeah.
The other one who was up for Harvey, who would then go on to play somebody with dual identities and rage issues, was Mark Ruffalo.
Okay. Yeah.
Which you could see. I met for the Dark Knight for Harvey Dent, he said. But obviously he got, I would say, probably a better gig with the Avengers, considering that he got
Yes.
multiple movies out of that one. And as opposed to just one. 'Cause
Right.
Aaron Eckhart did the Dark Knight, and then it was just like, I Frankenstein. And
Where the fuck has he been?
I don't know, but it looks like
Is he like a
it
jerk
didn't really
or something?
do much to his career, unfortunately.
Holy shit! I haven't thought about
Yeah.
that because he's still fresh in my mind from this role.
Like Bale took off, Gary Oldman took off, Ledger obviously would have took off if he was still around, but
Dude, he was still on the upward trajectory.
yeah.
You know
But
what I
I'm
mean?
like, what happened to Aaron Eckhart? Oh well, he was the president in the what is it called? The Gerard Butler one about the White House.
Oh, he's in that shit.
Yeah, he was
Fucking
the president.
something has fallen.
Something
Olympus
has fallen. Olympus has fallen. That's what it
Yeah.
was. Because I know there was London has fallen, and then the next one is Angel has fallen with Morgan Freeman. So
Okay.
another Dark Knight alum. But
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, it became Aaron Eckhart playing the role of Harvey Dent. And he was not the only DA to have to be cast in this. Katie Holmes could not make it to shoot The Dark Knight. She was busy on a Queen Latifah movie. Seems like a terrible choice,
Well, I
honestly.
also heard there was some Scientology issues.
There
going
might
on.
have been as well with Warner Brothers. I don't think Warner Brothers particularly liked the fact that her relationship with Tom Cruise kind of hijacked the publicity that she could have done for Batman Begins. But that's
Oh my
speculation
God,
on my
yeah.
part. But that happened on the same time, around the same time.
Yeah, there's something. Yeah, something will happen there.
Yeah, but the diplomatic answers that were given were, quote, from Katie Holmes. She said, I really enjoyed working on the first one, and I wish I could have worked with Chris Nolan again. It was a decision that I made at that time, and it was right for me at that moment, so I don't have any regrets. I think that Maggie did a wonderful job, but I really hope that I get to work with Chris again someday. Chris Nolan himself said Katie wasn't available for the role, which I wasn't very happy about, but these things happen, and I was very, very fortunate that Maggie was able to take over.
Maggie Gyllenhaal was such a good recast. It's almost as good of a recast as Don Cheadle taking over for War Machine. Like, if you remember, the only guy that's ever died in the MCU was, what's his name in the first one? First War Machine guy.
The first
my
War Machine
God.
guy? What do you mean?
It's a different actor. It wasn't Don
Well,
Cheadle.
Terrence
and
Howard was the original.
Terrence
What do you
Howard-
mean he died?
Terrence
What do you
Howard.
mean he died, though?
It's a joke. It's like he's the only guy that's actually gone because everybody comes back all the time.
Oh, that's true.
So, I mean, I don't know. For me personally, I think it was a great choice. I really
do
like
think
Don
she-
Cheadle a lot more
yeah.
than Terrence Howard. I like Maggie Gyllenhaal, personally speaking, a lot more than Katie Holmes.
I think that the character was almost written differently from one to the next
Yeah,
one, though,
yeah.
because to me,
Yeah.
Rachel was very much about like the upstanding citizen to set the example for Bruce and be his good conscience, and then this one was kind of just like the DA stuff was like secondary to her actual character, and she was just kind of there to fulfill the female role and
Yeah, I get
be
you,
there in
yeah.
the love triangle.
Yeah.
So it's I feel personally, even though I'm not a huge Rachel Dawes fan, but it did feel like the character was kind of shortchanged for the sake of the men in this. But I mean, it does kind of, I hate to say it, but it does kind of make sense considering that Batman's your main character and Harvey Dent is also a major character in the comics. So they kind of they combined her with Harvey's wife in the comics, Gilda, sometimes known as Grace, also sometimes known as Alice. But Harvey having a love interest with Rachel makes sense because they work in the same office.
Right.
So, but that was the story of that. But Harvey might also be influenced by a different character. And this gives us into a whole other tangent because we talked about Steve Englehart in the Batman 89 deep dive. Steve Englehart was a writer in the 70s for Batman. His run introduced the Laughing Fish and brought back Hugo Strange and redesigned Deadshot into the one that we know today. He wrote a sequel to his run called Dark Detective. He considers it to be called Dark Detective 2. But it's called Dark Detective, and in it features a character named Evan Gregory, who is this idealist guy, politician running for governor. And he is a square-jawed, angular-faced blonde man who looks almost exactly like Aaron Eckhart.
Okay.
In there, it's insane. And his love interest is Silver St. Cloud.
Was he drawn before Aaron Eckhart was even in movies?
Yeah. This comic was, well, not before movies. But
I mean before before Aaron Eckhart came out in movies, or did he see this actor and be like, I'm gonna base it on this guy?
Englehart hasn't said that he based Evan Gregory off of Aaron Eckhart. But it's possible that Marshall Rogers, the artist who is no longer with us, did that.
Okay.
But this was published in 2005 to coincide with the release of Batman Begins.
Okay.
Because they wanted to hype up so much Batman shit at the same time. But it is interesting to see. So Evan Gregory is dating Silver St. Cloud. In the comics. So Silver St. Cloud, in the original 70s run, was Bruce's girlfriend who found out that he was Batman, and then, because of his double life, turned him down and rejected him and left him.
Okay.
Just like Rachel Dawes in Batman Begins.
Okay.
So you see where this is going here. Englehart claims that The Dark Knight is partially based off of Dark Detective. And as somebody who's read through the run several times, I can say that there is a similarity to that love triangle in terms of the archetypes involved.
Right.
However, this could also be a case where Nolan didn't read any of Dark Detective at all and came up with that himself because Harvey Dent being an idealistic crusading politician is something that's already part of his character in the comics anyway.
Right.
The fact that he cast Aaron Eckhart could have had nothing to do with trying to make him look like Evan Gregory. And doing a love triangle thing with Rachel just seems natural since they're both in the DA's office.
Coincidences happen naturally.
Yeah.
So, it doesn't necessarily mean anything.
So I'm sorry, Englehart, and we'll get further on because I have a lot more to say about this. But for right now, we're just going to stick to the characters who are introduced in the sequence in the courtroom.
Rare things happen all the time. Then.
Yeah, I know. So in the courtroom, Harvey decides to flip for it with Rachel, and that's when we're introduced to the coin. The lucky silver dollar that he has. That, of course, turns into the famous Two-Face coin. Now, this has big background in the comics, and that leads us into our next competition thing. Originally, in the very first appearance of Two-Face, Boss Maroni owns the double-headed coin as a lucky piece.
Okay.
And Dent had it as evidence in his hand when he got scarred, and the acid dripped onto the coin and created the scar side, I think. Or he carved it himself, and he saw the coin as a reminder of the accident that happened to him or the attack that had on him, and so he decided to use it as a tool. Later on, there was in 1989, there was a Sunday comic strip by William Messner-Loebs, was the writer, who came up with the idea that Bruce Wayne and Harvey Dent were friends.
Okay.
In the first place, and we're gonna get
in there ever since.
And it's been there. Yeah, it's been there ever since. And the two-headed coin was a gift that Bruce gave him, which turns into a cruel irony later that gift is later used against him when he's Batman. But the most famous origin of the two-headed coin that they're kind of drawing off of is from a story in Batman Annual number 14 called The Eye of the Beholder.
Okay.
And that is one of the strongest versions of the origin of Two-Face. And it came up with the idea that Harvey Dent grew up in an abusive home with his father. And his father flipped a coin, and he said, we'll play a game. If it lands on heads, I beat you tonight. And if it lands on tails, then you go free.
That's a power. It changes the tone a lot, but yes,
and of course,
it's not bad.
It's a two-headed coin.
Oh, well, yeah.
So Harvey always lost on that. And
It's like fuck chance.
Yeah, exactly.
Or that's
he had
not
no
chance at all.
Yeah, he had no chance.
I'd rather have. I'm trying to break down the psyche.
Yeah.
I'd rather have actual chance than what was given to me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
But he tracks down his father later on as Two-Face.
Okay.
To get another lucky silver dollar from him, because he loses his first coin in the Eye of the Beholder, and he brings up like, this is what you did to me, sort of thing. But that's the significance it has in his life. And the Long Halloween sort of has that implication in a scene where Gilda finds Harvey when he's just got the coin in his hand, and he's thinking about it, and he's like, I visited my father, and things like that. So which brings me into another thing. The Eye of the Beholder, like the Long Halloween, is one of the most famous origins of Harvey Dent into Two-Face. But Jeff Loeb pretty much took all the Harvey Dent beats from the Eye of the Beholder. The Eye of the Beholder is the original. The Eye of the Beholder is the shadow to the Long Halloween's Batman.
Gotcha.
In this case,
The Eye of the Beholder is a Batman run.
it is a Batman run.
Yeah.
It is a one story. It's a very long story, but it's one story, and it delves way deeper into Harvey Dent's character than the Long Halloween ever does.
Okay.
And there's different beats in there that are directly drawn into the Long Halloween. Completely different writer, completely different artist, but moments like Gordon saying he does that, or the rooftop meeting of Batman, Gordon, and Dent is in there. Certain characters, like Harvey's assistant Fields, is in there, and I'll get further and further as we go along with that. But to me, a lot of the Long Halloween, in terms of a Harvey Dent story, it's a little overrated when it comes to Harvey Dent stuff, because Harvey's main role in that consists of a lot of dialogue that play on the two puns, and you don't really get to see the psychological transformation as much as you would think. Whereas in the Eye of the Beholder, you do.
Okay.
So, anyway, there's a long tangent to say there are many origins to the coin, but the one that is the most famous is the abusive father, and the fact that he used that to beat him when he was younger. So it's either that versus in the movie it's just Harvey's lucky coin. Which one do you prefer?
Oh, definitely not the movie one.
That was easy. Yeah, I prefer the comics too, because it's such a rich backstory, and it's also like you kind of have to have Harvey in a fucked up childhood in order to buy the idea that this guy would change like that.
Right.
You know, he can't just be completely healthy and then suddenly his face gets scarred and he's like, all right, fuck this. I'm done, because like it doesn't make any sense.
It's also like being a guy that works for is he the DA?
He's the DA.
He is the DA, right?
Yeah.
Like somebody that seeks justice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, yes. I don't know if do you think that whole thing would have fit in Dark Knight? I guess it's dark enough.
It could have if Batman, like if they did it like in the Eye of the Beholder, when Batman confronts Gordon and he's like, you know, there's something about Harvey you should know, and like this is his background and everything, and we didn't know about it, and it was swept under the rug so that he could become DA. Yeah, all of those things, like it would psychologically make more sense.
There's some things that make him where he couldn't pass a background check. Let's put it that way.
So that's one of the things that I think is missing from the Harvey Dent tale. But I do think Aaron Eckhart does a good job with the role, and I do think he's a strong crusading protagonist in this.
His overall like a temperament is something that you would, how do I say it? His demeanor is something that is in line with the comics, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I mean he's somebody who
Dent.
You could see, like, okay, I could see how Bruce sees him as the new hope for Gotham, or how Gotham sees him as the new hope for them, as a legitimate person who's working for the law. Right. So that was definitely one of the strengths. So that one goes to the comics. Obviously, the scene where Harvey gets attacked with the guy on the witness stand, it does not lead to him getting scarred, but it could be seen as a reference to the fact that in the comics, Harvey Dent is attacked with acid while he's interrogating somebody, or cross-examining
Batman's
somebody.
wearing a suit in the
Batman
in the courtroom.
Batman does not wear the suit anymore in the courtroom in any version since the Golden Age version. But yeah, the next thing is when Harvey meets with Gordon in the office. Gordon says, "We all know that you're Gotham's White Knight."
Yeah.
Now this goes into the next part of the competition where Harvey has different nicknames. That he's known to in the public. So in the original story, Harvey's nickname was Apollo because of the fact that he was, I guess, heroic and good looking, and that emphasized like his handsome face. The Dark Knight took a different route and called him the White Knight, and that has different reasons. Obviously, him being the White Knight is him being a hero to Gotham.
Yeah.
But then that heroic name gets tarnished when he becomes Two-Face,
Right.
and Batman has to become the new hero, which is why Gordon flips it and calls him the Dark Knight at the end.
Right.
Giving more significance to it than just being like, hey, we gave an alternate name to Batman in the
Again,
title.
a literature major from Oxford.
Okay. So,
And Goyer.
so Harvey is, as the White Knight, is an upstanding citizen trying to enforce the law, but ends up sinking into immorality. While Batman is a vigilante who breaks the law, but ends up being a hero who upholds his moral code, more or less.
The
So they're the
hero on the surface who's not a hero, also
Yeah.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
this is simpler than what you're saying, but then
Basically-
the guy actually behind the scenes, that is the real hero, but
Yeah.
what somebody needs, that whole spiel at the end, that's
Yeah.
so. When that was being said, I was like, "Fuck! Am I watching the best movie ever in my life? This is the best movie I've ever seen in my life, I think, guys."
You could say that they're two sides of the same coin in that sense that one is the White Knight and one's the Dark Knight in terms of who's publicly legitimate and who's not publicly legitimate, and who's fighting for what's right and who turns out not to be. So,
Right.
Apollo versus the White Knight. I think this is easy. Which
White
one
Knight.
do you like better? White Knight,
White
yes.
Knight.
Mine is for that as well.
So that's actually goes to the movie.
that goes to the movie.
Yeah.
So we are now tied because they're both at 1.5 right now.
Drawing parallels.
Yes. Next one is Harvey Dent and Bruce Wayne's relationship. So, as I mentioned before, the comic book strip in the 1980s developed the idea that Bruce Wayne and Harvey Dent were friends. Beforehand, there was no other mention. It was the Golden Age. It said that Batman and Harvey Dent, or Harvey Kent, as he was called at the time, were friends or were allies, at least in crime fighting. But it didn't say any indication about Bruce Wayne. It was finally... It was sort of referenced in one of the original Sam Hamm drafts, though.
Yeah.
Where he and Harvey have one scene, and Harvey may or may not know that he's Batman, or he's just like, I don't have your sources, Bruce, that type of thing. But it wasn't really explicitly drawn out until Bill Messner-Loebs did it in the comic strip. And this is a comic strip that ran for 2 years, from 89 to 1991.
Okay.
And this is an upcoming deep dive. I promise you guys, because I'm going to call it the best comics you've never read.
Oh, that's good.
This
I don't even know about that.
Yes.
Actually, he has not told me that. This is
Surprise for
we
you,
talked
yeah.
about many of our plans, but that wasn't one of them. That's cool.
This
All
is
right.
an upcoming deep dive where I'll go into it, but it is. I know I said Eye of the Beholder is one of the best Two-Face ones. The comic strip is, in my opinion, the best story that shows the evolution from Harvey Dent to Two-Face.
This is something that Dark Knight's sort of missing. They're not really friends,
Right.
But he does put his hope in Gotham. He fully convinces Bruce Wayne, so there is that. But they're not like buds.
No, like Harvey definitely shows some resentment. Like even when he's talking to Rachel later on, he's like, "You're not going to Bruce, are you?" Like he still doesn't really trust him that much.
This whole thing is missing from the movie.
Yeah, like in The Long Halloween, that's probably where they were drawing more off of, because Harvey sort of looks down on Bruce in The Long Halloween. He just thinks of him as like some rich guy, and once he in the beginning where he's found beaten at the wedding. And he's just like, you rich people go back to whatever the hell it is you do. Like he clearly doesn't have that relationship. In the Long Halloween, he has more of a friendship with Gordon than he does with Batman, or with Bruce Wayne, I mean.
Right.
Yeah. So, but in the comic strip, we saw that friendship, then that definitely got carried over in the animated series. But we've never really seen it in any live action take because that wasn't there. I was hoping it would be part of Gotham, but they cast somebody who was a good decade older than David Mazouz and never had a scene with him.
Right.
And then we definitely didn't see it in Batman 89 or Batman Forever, and not this one. And hopefully it's going to be in Matt Reeves, please.
Yeah. Well, maybe in the second one. Well, maybe it's being set up. And
or
we
maybe
don't
it's
know
being
it.
set up and they just haven't cast him yet, but we'll see.
Yeah.
But what do you prefer, Bruce and Harvey as friends or as not friends? I guess you could
Friends,
say.
for sure.
Friends for sure.
We tied on this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we got comics for this one.
Yeah.
That one goes to comics. So right now,
I mean, it's gonna, anytime you have a fallout, that's the epitome of drama.
right.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Because like in all versions, Batman is an ally to Harvey. Well, except for one that comes to mind. But in most versions, he is an ally. They are allies together. The only version where they're definitely not is in actually Beware the Batman. Beware the Batman. Harvey Dent's a jerk in that one. I'm not a fan of what they
took
do with that.
license with that.
They took
one,
some
huh?
and I'm like, I get what you're doing, but like it just makes me hate Harvey before he's even Two-Face.
Right.
So
Right.
this later on, so yeah, Bruce obviously meets with Harvey at the restaurant. They have that whole back and forth, and then later on, we have the whole meeting with the Joker and the mob and how Lau's going off for the money. This is not really a comic book thing, but one thing I do think is interesting is how Ledger plays the Joker at the meeting, where sure he comes in with that entrance, kills the guy with the pencil, but there's almost like this sense of he's not confident yet in how he plays it.
It's like he hasn't, even though he robbed the bank, I guess he lost all of his henchmen there too.
Yeah.
Like it felt like he was alone. He was just a lone gunman.
Yeah.
Really, like I don't know why I thought that, but it's like just no henchmen.
Yeah,
Of
it could be.
Joker at that point.
It could be that as well as just like he's just still starting out.
Yeah.
So he's just like, oh, like okay, I've talked to you, like the pauses and things like that. I don't know if that was deliberately what they were trying to go for, but that's what I got out of it. I'm just like, oh, I've never seen a Joker who doesn't have his confidence yet.
Yeah.
Until the Joaquin one, obviously.
He's able to fucking waltz into a room of fucking hardened ass criminals.
Yeah.
And completely own it because obviously he's the craziest in the room and he's got the control with the suicide bomb vest. So I thought that was so good, man.
Yeah.
That was done well.
That was done. Yeah.
And what do you say about Lau on the TV? He's like
television.
Yeah,
over there.
Yeah, television over
He'll
there.
squeal. Yeah.
He'll squeal.
I know the squealers and.
Batman's got no jurisdiction. Yeah.
And he knew it. And that was
Yeah.
before he even. This before they even meet.
Because they're kindred spirits in a certain way, right?
Yeah, you could say that.
Yeah.
So this does lead to the rooftop meeting between Dent, Gordon, and Batman, which probably was likely taken from The Long Halloween, but The Long Halloween took it from Eye of the Beholder, and Eye of the Beholder took that from the Sunday comic strips.
Question. Oh, really?
Yeah.
So Eye of the Beholder comes out when? What's the published date on that one?
90. Hold on a
It's
second.
in the 90s.
Yeah.
And Long Halloween was when?
96.
96. So it's basically early 90s to mid 90s.
Yeah.
They're not too far apart from each other.
Yeah. No. Eye of the Beholder was. Hold on a second.
It says 2011, man.
No. That was another thing called.
another
One of the
one.
confusing things. Tony Daniel did another thing called Eye of the Beholder that had nothing to do with Two-Face.
Get your own name, man.
Batman Annual 1990. Okay, so 1989 was the Sunday comic strips that had a rooftop meeting with Gordon, Batman, and Harvey Dent.
That was the first time for that.
That was the first time, and Harvey was totally against Batman being there because just to sum it up, Harvey's arc originally is hating Batman and going against him, and then gradually becoming allies with him.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
So he objects to this, and Batman and Gordon don't care, type of thing. And then Eye of the Beholder presented them being a little bit more in sync with each other.
Yeah.
And then Long Halloween did their own take on it, but the image of the three of them up there definitely started with the comic strips.
Okay.
So
then from 89, then 90, and then 96.
90, and then 96 with the Long Halloween, yeah. And then everybody else copied it from that.
Yeah. Well,
Probably because of Long Halloween more than the other stuff.
it's a good idea.
And then, of course, when Batman disappears on Dent, Gordon says he does that, which is
Yeah.
also in The Long Halloween. However, Batman does the same thing in Eye of the Beholder in a different scene, and Gordon says to the other person at the scene, he does that. So, like, I'm pretty sure that was taken from Eye of the Beholder.
Yeah, for sure.
Next, we go into Joker is supposedly killed as he's presented to Michael J. White, but of course that turns out not to be the case.
Yeah.
And he starts asking, do you want to know how I got these scars?
This
And
is one of the
that
best parts.
leads to the origin, that leads to the fact that this Joker tells multiple different stories about his origins.
Right.
So in this one, it's about his abusive past, and that kind of ties into versions where Joker may have had an abusive past. At the time, Paul Dini and Bruce Timm's Mad Love, he was talking about how his father used to beat him all the time
Right.
to Harley, and then Harley later on finds out from Batman that he keeps switching details of the same story to different
Right.
people. So there's that. And then author Robert McCammon wrote a story called On a Beautiful Summer's Day He Was, about a young Jack Napier who is subjected to his father's psychological abuse. So this was and there's some other abuse ones, but they were written after The Dark Knight. But these were the two that established it beforehand.
Okay.
But Joker's true origins are never really revealed in this movie. There's some speculation.
It's better for it, I think.
Yeah, there's some speculation about, like, is he an Army vet? Some think that he's an Army vet. I heard one where they think that he's some League of Shadows alum, and I'm like, that's dumb. Like,
The thing is,
I don't like that.
this fan's overthinking it.
Yeah.
This is what Goyer and Nolan were thinking. We're going to have him say 4 different origins. We're never going to write an origin. We don't care about that. What's in the script is what's in the script.
It's really just 2. But, yeah, because there was a period of time where he didn't have one, but keep in mind that during the time, a lot of the different villains didn't have a lot of origins in the first place. So, like, from 1940 to 1951, he didn't have an origin, but that didn't necessarily mean that it was deliberate. It just meant at the time that, like, they
were making a shit up fucking every month, like, just for kids to read in the fucking market. You know, like, it's just people are like want to really overthink some of this stuff when it's really not. Just don't worry about it.
Yes. But that does lead into the next part, because the comics definitely have covered various different versions of the origins, whereas the Nolan movie obviously does not. So, mysterious, like in The Dark Knight, or origin explained, like Batman 89 or The Killing Joke and stuff.
I like mysterious, I think. I think there's something scary about something being mysterious. You don't know where he's come from. The more it's explained, it's just, I don't know, it loses something for me, I think.
Here's my take on that. And I guess for the movie itself, I agree. So this one's going to go to the movie.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that I'm against any Joker origins. I think either he starts off and he just shows up like he does in The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Or we meet him beforehand and we see him turn into that. But I don't like... he's the Joker now, and then guess what? Here's my backstory, guys. That's what I don't like.
Yeah.
So if, I've noticed in my top Joker origins when I did that episode, please check that out. My favorite ones were the ones that you saw the evolutions, and the ones that I didn't rank as high that most people do, like the Killing Joke and stuff.
Yeah.
I rank those a little lower because I'm just like, okay, like on that. I liked seeing the evolution. I like seeing the evolution. That's why. I think Joker and Dark Knight are equally valid interpretations of it, even though they're completely different. Because one, in terms of their treatment of the same character.
Yeah. I don't hate knowing it like Arthur Fleck or whatever, Joaquin Phoenix Joker, but if I had my druthers, I would druther it to be the other way.
So shall we give it to? We'll give it to the movie.
Yeah, movie.
We are now tied. Comics and movies are tied right now.
It's a tight race.
But we have a few other Joker things to compete with. One of those is the Joker's toys. So, the Ledger Joker...
toys in this?
Exactly, that's the thing. Joker has, like, gas grenades.
Oh, yeah.
Uses his knife.
I missed that.
And,
the
machine gun. And that's...
poison flower thing. And, the pendant here. The fucking, what's his name had it? Fucking, Jack Nicholson.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I'm saying Heath Ledger doesn't have it. Yeah, exactly.
I'm saying he should have that.
Right. So the Ledger uses everything Ledger's Joker uses exists in real life in The Dark Knight, but in the comics, Joker uses various methods. So he has he has razor sharp cards he's throwing at people.
Yeah.
He has Joker gas. He's got all sorts of toys or things. He's got the electric joy buzzer. He's got the acid flower that you're talking about. So what do you prefer? The toys, him being a little bit more realistic in terms of what he uses? Because there is something scary about him using something that you know is real.
Yeah. For Nolan, I prefer it this way. But
Gotcha.
honestly, probably Leto Joker probably should have had a whole lot of more toys.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I actually love the toys. It makes it more toyetic. Obviously, like,
Right.
you get more shit to buy, in the store. And, Batman has a utility belt, so it's just another, it's accessories for your action figure.
Right.
But again, the writing, how do you say it? Like, it's a parallel. He's got the toys, Batman's got the utility belt. You know what I
Right,
mean?
yeah.
Like, it's a two sides of the same coin once again. So, not like I hate it, but for the purposes of the movie, I'd rather not have it.
So you go to the movie.
For this, yes. You want him to have the toys?
I think that it could still work.
Yeah,
To me, it could still
maybe
work with the
it
toys.
Maybe
I
it
don't know
could.
what sequence it would be, but I think it
Yeah.
would still work with
Yeah.
it. So we'll just give 0.5 to both ones, which means
Okay.
we're still tied.
Okay.
Comics and movies, 3 to 3.
Damn.
You don't know where this is gonna go. It's no clear winner on these. Next is the Joker's MO.
Chattering teeth too, right?
Oh yeah, the chattering
There's
teeth. Yeah,
yeah,
which is also in '89. The Joker's MO, his preferred method of execution in a lot of ever since the first story was
Crowbar.
a form. Poor Jason Todd.
R.I.P. baby.
R.I.P. baby. No, it was the Joker venom, as it's called, where it's a
yeah.
toxin that causes you to laugh yourself to death until you have the rictus grin. Now, yes, that was stolen from the Shadow episode of the radio, The Case of the Laughing Death, or The Laughing Death, but it's been his most famous MO. Joker doesn't do that in this one. In this one, he does this to people,
Yeah.
or puts the lipstick thing on them, like what he does to officers Harvey and Officer Dent.
When he like grabs Gyllenhaal
Yeah.
by the cheeks,
Yeah.
I'm sure. I mean, she knows it's acting, but I'm sure she was freaked out.
Yeah.
that was fucking acting superb, bro.
Especially because he's got the makeup on and everything. It's hard to see him as Heath Ledger at that moment.
I mean, didn't Alfred, what's his name, Michael Caine, have lines in that scene, and they hadn't met yet? And when he comes up,
Yeah.
he's like, "Where's Harvey?"
Yeah, Caine.
And like, I think that he was so shocked at the performance, he forgot his lines.
Yeah, Caine says he forgot his lines, but I don't know what his line was supposed to be. It wasn't in the movie. I don't know.
It was
if
probably some
supposed to be in the
throwaway
script.
bullshit.
Yeah,
Like,
probably.
here's your hors d'oeuvre, sir, or whatever. You
Just
know what I
joking,
mean?
yeah.
Some bullshit throwaway
Right.
line.
Mm-hmm.
Probably was better without it.
Oh yeah. So I don't know what Alfred's line would have been, but I can believe that. I can believe that based off of Ledger's performance.
I mean, if it's the first time seeing this fucking incredible performance, I mean, my jaw was pretty much on the floor with the first time I saw this movie.
Yeah. Like you could
man.
feel the energy in the room with the audience. Like there's nothing
Yeah.
more special than having seen The Dark Knight for the first time in a theater that was packed with everybody. People were
man.
like this was you didn't get this experience with Batman Begins or Dark Knight Rises. It was purely for this one. Maybe a little bit for Dark Knight Rises in certain parts, but Dark Knight, it was like every 10 minutes there was something where people were cheering
So iconic.
or everything.
Yeah.
Like you knew every single time Ledger entered the screen, something was going to go down.
Yeah.
And even if you were seeing it for the second time or third time or fourth time in your
Four
case,
times
you
in
could
the
still
theater.
feel that was going to happen.
Four
but
times,
yeah,
baby.
The MO, though.
Dark Knight Rises, one time. No, I saw it twice in the theater, actually. I saw
Dark
it
Knight
twice.
Rises one time in theater.
One time for you?
In
Wow.
theater, period. But anyway, we'll talk about that later. But the Joker MO.
This girl I was dating at the time too. You know her. I won't say
Yeah,
her
I
name.
know, yeah.
But she's drunk when we saw it the second time.
Yeah.
And she said she just every time she looked at Bane, she was like, "He's so big. He's so big."
Awesome.
Yes, he's been working out like a motherfucker.
Tom Hardy.
Tom
Yeah.
Hardy. He's known to get big. All right. Anyway, keep going.
It is weird that the Sony Spider-Verse seems to be the refugee camp for former Batman actors with Tom Hardy, Leto, and Michael Keaton.
It is very true.
So
Very true.
Anyway.
Honestly, cannot wait for Morbius. It's probably gonna be bad, but I can't wait.
we'll see. Yeah.
All right.
But which MO do you prefer, laughing gas or scars?
Oh man, almost equally.
So it's a draw for you.
I'm thinking. I know this is bad for a podcast, but okay. So the laughing gas the laughing gas gives them the rictus grin.
Makes them laugh themselves
to
death.
That Joker.
Yeah, like if we were to channel the Arthur Fleck version, it's almost like he makes them laugh uncontrollably, like he's been forced to. Now, this is a very different Joker, but it's that idea that it's scary to see somebody laugh against their will in their final moments, and that they know that that's it.
This is the toughest one for me so far, probably. I might. Again, it's because of this movie. I love that Joker and the Nicholson one too.
Right.
It works perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
I think for this one, maybe a guy with a little knife. I'm gonna I might change tomorrow, maybe, but I'm gonna go Heath Ledger knife to mouth for this.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love the laughing. I mean, I've always loved the laughing death.
Yeah.
In this.
Even the fish start to smile.
Even the fish starts, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, I see your point here.
Yeah.
On this, and I try to imagine this movie, because here's the thing: I can try to imagine this movie with a more traditional looking Joker, and it could still be pretty much the same. I can imagine this being a Joker who uses a few more toys and stuff, and I can kind of see it being the same, maybe a different design. I try to picture this movie with somebody laughing themselves to death, and for some reason, that's what's kind of like, maybe that wouldn't have worked as much.
Not,
I don't know.
Not in this one.
I don't know who it would have been either, because there was something about, you know what it is? The Dark Knight, the intensity comes from how many quick deaths there were.
Right. Yeah.
Pencil, boom.
Yeah. True.
The judge gets blown up.
Right.
Commissioner suddenly gets poisoned. You know, everybody. So many quick deaths.
Yeah.
In it, and to have a slow one in the middle just feels like it's a little bit against it, as well as like I don't know who we would have seen get that.
I mean, also, it even works on the psychological level, too, where you have a guy that's taken a knife to his own mouth.
Yeah.
And if he wants, just like with the gas, make somebody like him just for fun, he makes somebody just like him just for fun by cutting their mouth.
Now I'm always smiling.
Yeah. So even on that level, it 100% works.
Yeah. So I'm going to go with movie on this one.
Wow.
So
unbelievable.
Now comics history.
Did I change you just now?
I think you might have, because I'm just like, okay.
Yeah.
So comics 3, movie 4 now. Next though is something that we've been meaning to talk about for a while, which is Batsuits.
I'm trying not to look at your notes, but I see it every now and again. Yeah.
The Batsuits. So after Lau goes off to Hong Kong, Bruce has to go get his new suit from Lucius Fox.
Yeah.
And he picks up the new Batsuit.
From Lucius Fox.
Give me the guy, just Q. Give me. So, for the Batsuit, we had a redesigned Batsuit. It was no longer the one from Batman Begins. They wanted to redesign it to be something that was even more tactical. So, we had something that was, the gauntlets could now shoot stuff out.
Yes.
The neck was a little thinner. He had like this bulbous panther neck in the Batman Begins, and then it was all like thinned out in this one. And then the armor was very much redesigned on this. But that was the new Batsuit, and it's obviously very different from the one that's in the comics. The one in the comics is more two-tone. This one was pretty much full black.
Yeah.
And a little less armored looking than what we saw in the movie. But what are your opinions on the Dark Knight Batsuit?
It's pretty good. I mean, I don't hate it. I mean, there is something. It's the whole environment of the movie. So it's like you got an ultra realistic tone. So a guy with a tactical suit with bat ears and a cape sort of makes sense. But there is something where it loses how striking it could be. Like Batfleck's suit, if Batfleck wasn't, like, I like him as an actor, but he was just a little bit too chunky. But that suit was so good.
Yeah.
It's so comic booky, and it's like, I don't know, man. I know he's fighting parademons and shit, so it's a different tone entirely.
Well,
but
what about BVS? Because he's not. I mean, yeah, he still fought parademons, but if we ignore that scene,
it's a lot more comic booky tone though than what Nolan did. You know what I mean?
True, but I mean, I try to picture the Batfleck suit in The Dark Knight, and I probably would arguably love it even more, honestly.
Yeah, that's true. You're kind of butting up comic book sensibility with reality, which I like. I like that too. I think that's perfectly acceptable. Yeah, maybe that's what happened.
Yeah, I try to.
It loses something being so realistic. It does.
If I pictured The Dark Knight, but it's the Batfleck suit.
Yeah.
And the Phoenix Joker design, it's pretty much the same movie. We don't really lose much other than maybe the scar thing would have to be changed and not make much sense if he's not scarred. But that's it. So, yeah, similar to my Joker reaction. The first time I saw this suit, I was like, oh my god, give me back the Batman Begins suit.
Really? Wow.
I hate the Dark Knight suit. I just hate it. It looks like
I've actually never heard this. Wow.
He looks like he's wearing a black tennis shoe.
Bold,
to me.
Bold statements up for this motherfucker today.
He has a bobblehead because the neck is so thin. Everything is segmented, so he looks like he's wearing a tennis shoe. And I'm like, this is even worse than before, where I thought like they could have. Like, the comic book elements actually feed into what is being done story-wise. As I said, like, I don't get the point of having the bat on the chest in the first place if the bat doesn't stand out. And it ties into him being like, I want to be a symbol and things like that and to show people about this. I'm just like, well, what's the point of having a symbol if you try to keep disguising it or hiding it the whole time?
He's a ninja, man. He's hiding it all the time.
Now the bat is even smaller on his chest. And it looks uglier, and I'm like, this is worse than before.
So you want to turn your head?
Yeah. So in which case, I'm also like, why did it take him so long for him to be like, you know what? I should actually turn my head. He doesn't do it until this movie.
They shouldn't. That joke's too meta too. Like Morgan Freeman. Like it should have just.
Yeah.
Don't even mention it. It brings up too much of the problem in real life.
Yeah. It makes you. It pulls you out of it. Because like some people were praising this to be like, oh, they actually explained the change in the suits, and I'm just like. You took up time that we didn't really need to explain the change in the suits. You could have just said, like...
we don't need it.
He went to Lucius Fox in between from one movie to the next. I mean, I still would have preferred if he
Here's the thing.
stuck in the same suit.
Batman steps onto the screen wearing a suit. That's it. You don't even need to fucking explain most of it.
I don't get why people were criticizing the previous movies of that. Cause it's like, it's so that they sell toys. I'm just like, or they just want to, change things up. And like Batman's totally the character who would change up his arsenal to improve himself. I get it. And that idea was still there. I just felt visually it was such a downgrade for me. And I didn't really like that they kept the same one for the next one that I was just like, okay, fine.
Does Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises not change suits at
Not
all?
really, nah.
It's about the same.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same. But for me, like, it is low on my list. Like, Clooney's last suit, I rank below this one, obviously. But then I do prefer... Sorry, but I do prefer Kilmer's suit over the Dark Knight suit.
Wow, man.
I do. Even with the nipples. The nipples I can ignore. This one I can't ignore anything. It's all there. So
it's
like
a black
again,
tennis shoe.
yeah, he's wearing a fucking black tennis shoe to me. So I've never been a huge fan of this. I vastly prefer the Batfleck type of aesthetic, and I vastly prefer below the Batfleck aesthetic. If it's not comic book accurate, I do prefer the 90s type of look because it felt sleeker. It felt more closer to the comic book image, even if he was all black, simply because it was just, as I said before in a previous episode, like, the more armory he looks, the more he looks like a guy in armor, and the less he looks like somebody who's believably a creature of the night or believably an urban legend among people. Because if you see like the fucking segmentation and shit on him, then you just know like, okay, this is a guy in a suit, as opposed to you don't see it or it doesn't look like he's wearing it that obviously, and you shoot him and nothing happens, then that's fucking freaky to people or the criminal lot. So that is I think it's obvious where I stand in terms of comics versus movie. So comics for me, and for you,
that's definite comics.
Comics, okay. So
but you know what? I this is something that I've become a lot more familiar with comics and Batman fandom since these movies too, and I've graduated. And at the time, I think I kind of liked it. Although I'm not sure if I ever really loved the cowl a whole bunch. But I did. I think there was a time where I accepted this suit. Like I liked it. I liked it okay. But I don't know. I guess just becoming more familiar with the comics over the years, and finally seeing like a comic accurate Batfleck suit, like that I guess turned my opinion on everything.
Right. Yeah. I do think though that does segue us into Matt Reeves' The Batman suit, because at this time of this recording, we have finally gotten to see it.
Oh, man. Here we go. We might make this... I'm going to cut this out, make it its own video, too. For more YouTube shit.
Yeah. Okay. So, the Batman Batsuit, the Battinson suit, has premiered, and we finally got a look not just in costume sets, but in surprise paparazzi pictures that we tried to avoid, but it just blew up all over the fucking internet, as well as trades that
It was everywhere.
that you could not avoid it unless you just happened to not have any access to internet at the time. So I guess I'll start on this.
Go ahead. I want to hear
certain
this.
things that I like. Okay, one thing that I like is the tie-in to the 39 comics. Anything about a young Batman where the costume kind of looks like the original Bill Finger design, I'm supportive of, because I've always wanted to see that one brought to life. As
What if
like
you wore
a
a domino mask that Bob Kane's designed?
then I would be like, fuck this movie. But in this one, that might be fun if like he's drawing like designs of what it could be, but then he's just like, that's not even a fucking bat. He just throws it off like, that's stupid.
That would take you out of the movie, but it'd be funny as hell. Yeah.
No, but I like I like that there's that tie-in with the insignia on it. However, to me, it's one of those things where it's like, if you're going to take one thing, just give me all of it. Give me the ears that are like this. Give me some form of the purple gloves.
I agree.
Make it a modernized version of the 39 suit. Don't just like pick and choose, because when you start pick and choosing, then it just makes me miss the original version of where that's supposed to come from.
Yeah.
So that's what I like. The honestly, the best part of the costume test was seeing the Battinson jaw. I was like,
Yeah.
that is a hell of a jawline, my friend.
Yeah,
That's probably the best Batman jaw we've seen.
Yeah. I think it's probably part of the casting, honestly.
Yeah, like Affleck certainly had the chin, but he's definitely got this, like, the angular part of it that I don't think we've seen of anybody else, like Keaton, Kilmer, Clooney. Well, Clooney kind of has a good one, but it's not quite the same.
Yeah.
But yeah, he definitely has that cowl. There looks like there's some stitching on it, so there's kind of a homemade effect to it. But it's weird to me. This is where I start going to negatives. It's weird to me that there's like a mix of homemade with high tech at the same time.
Yeah.
I'd prefer you go all the way with homemade if you want to do homemade. Like, have the balls to do that. If
People keep bringing up that Spider-Man suit too, that was all black.
Oh, in Far From Home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like there's some. Again, this is fan rumors at this point, the point of this recording, and they say that he's going to do something similar to that in this movie.
Potentially.
I don't know where they're getting
There's
this
a lot of people
info.
saying, like, this is the prototype suit, and I'm just like, oh, if this is the prototype suit, then give me the 39 design or something like that.
Right.
But as I've said earlier, like, I despise bat armor or something that looks so obviously armored. I kind of excuse it more in the Arkham games because just the overall, like, from a distance, it still looks traditional. But when it's looks so obviously armored up, it loses the effect of like this demon coming after you, and it looks more like, oh, that's just a guy in a suit that he bought,
right.
type of thing. And we've seen more zoomed out images of a stunt suit, it looks like, on the Batcycle, and I wish that they had a full body image of the original Batsuit so we would know what stuff is, you know, specific to that stunt suit and what stuff is actually part of the real Batsuit.
Stunt suit too. The cowl looks like a very hard, like it's a helmet under there. It's a stunt cowl.
Yeah,
it looks different than what Pattinson was wearing.
Yeah, but the one thing that brought up was that definitely has lenses in it, which could be interesting. We've seen, this wouldn't be the first time with lenses. We saw lenses in Batman Forever and The Dark Knight, but it would be cool if it looked cool this time. If you know, like, especially if it's I'd be cool if it's just the helmet and it's just like the lights reflect off of the lenses when he's in the helmet.
I mean, is it also kind of like does the lenses come on just because he's riding a bat bike? You know, is it kind of like a protection thing? Mm-hmm. Like I don't know.
Again, my favorite take on the lenses is, funny enough, Batwoman, because they made it look like it was less about the mask and more about what was underneath the mask. So it almost looked like she was wearing white contacts, but that looked a little closer to what would be in the comics because of the fact that you could actually be expressive of it. You could do the thing like in the animated series where he plops down right in the intro in front of the in front of the criminals on the rooftop, and then his eyes narrow. You could do that.
Yeah.
You can't really do that with a helmet.
Right.
So, and then people bring up the insignia that looks like it could either be batarangs that you take off your chest and throw at people, just like in Batman the Brave and the Bold, or a bigger fan theory is that they're going to adapt Detective Comics number 1000 in a story by Kevin Smith and Jim Lee, where the chest plate is actually made by a melted down.
Looks like we might have lost picture there.
Oh shit. I like the idea of potentially him switching cowls or him only having that look when he's on the Batcycle or something to try to incorporate that. So that's kind of cool to me. This idea of the guns being on the chest, I do like that, but I've brought this up to you before and on our Twitter, but I'm like, people have talked about it so much, and we do not know if that's actually part of the movie. So it seems like if it's not actually in the movie, everyone's going to be disappointed for something that they've set themselves up for disappointment, because Matt Reeves has no obligation to fulfill your fan theories. So it'd be awesome if he did.
I like that. I like that sentence. It's really good. Yes.
But I'd like it if he did. But if he doesn't, you shut the fuck up. That's what I think about that. So I think it'd be a cool idea, but we'll see if it happens. I'm not going to cross my fingers for it.
Okay, and we'll just read it. I mean, we got it. But,
okay.
Technical difficulties get me down sometimes, Ben.
I understand. Also, I would love it, and I know you tweeted Mattson Tomlin about this, but I would love it if they had the if he did the purple gloves thing if we're doing some forensic stuff.
That guy's flying so far under the radar, man. Like nobody knows. Not many people know that he's also he's probably the main writer on this.
Yeah, but he's probably busy with other shit too. I mean, if you just wrote the new Batman movie, you're probably in demand right now on writing scripts for things that nobody's even known is under development yet. Yeah,
it's not like he's sitting around for this movie to come out. He's got a bunch of shit going on.
Yeah, already. That's how quickly everything moves. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the Batsuit. It's I feel like I was spoiled by the Batfleck suit, and I was hoping for something that was similar. And, Reeves has the freedom to do his own thing on it. It's just not necessarily my favorite version yet, but let's take I'll say wait and see for what it looks like, the way it's supposed to look like in the actual movie.
Yeah, it's almost as if the internet has already decided those are the guns by Joe Chill, and this is definitely a prototype suit.
Yeah, we don't know that either.
There's no fucking proof of that at all.
There were so many fan theories about the Batman Begin suit is the prototype, and the combat accurate Batsuit is going to come in the next movie, and the Dark Knight happens. They're like, no, that's another prototype. The comic book accurate Batsuit will come again. Or remember when the Jared Leto image of the Joker came out when he was like this, and they're just like, no, the tattoos can't be there. It's Photoshop. It's to commemorate the anniversary of the Joker.
Or the Jason Todd theory or whatever.
Or the Jason Todd theory too.
Yeah. Which would have been kind of cool, but
would have been cooler than the movie. But still, it's again, directors are not under any obligation to fulfill your fan theories.
More than likely, you thinking that this is a prototype suit is wishful thinking.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing.
More than likely.
Mm-hmm.
I do wish some parts of the suit were changed, and the only credit that you can have to say that this is a prototype suit is just like the stitching on the cowl, because it gives the sense of it being homemade.
As well as the fact this is set in his early days.
Yeah,
so presumably he will go through costume changes just like every other superhero does.
Yeah. So, I don't love the suit. I don't hate it. I'm somewhere in between.
Yeah.
I do like the back collar. I think it's kind of cool. It seems like it's easy to grab for villains. But
yeah.
But other than that, I like it. And the Bat bike though, that seems a bit uninspired. Also, it's just like it's not. Again, we don't know the tone of this film right now, but it's just. You've gone comic booky enough, but it could be a little more, fucking lean into a little more, man. Yeah, but
I don't know.
Whatever. Yeah. And I agree with you about the armor. It's a little too much, and the shoulders are too big.
He's wearing hockey pads.
Yeah, he is wearing hockey pads. There's already a meme about that.
There's that, and as well as the forearm. I'm like,
what is with that?
He's got huge forearms with these dart things. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
What's the purpose of that?
It's not great. I mean, I would be cool to see if there's another suit reveal, it really is a prototype. But again, who knows? And the thing that Boss Logic made with the cape added later was pretty cool.
It was cool, yeah.
It looked cool, and again, darkness and shadows really adds a lot to the look of something especially like this. So, I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
It's
yeah, I mean,
and the ears suck on the stunt cowl. We actually have not seen the ears on the regular cowl.
On the regular one, but they're bound to look similar.
Right.
At least in length.
I don't like the ears. Look terrible.
They're like, I like the length of them. I felt Batfleck's were a little short, but other than that, lengthwise, I'm okay with it. But this is, again, one of those things where fan expectations set me up for it, because people were just like, if you lighten the camera just a little bit, you can see his ears go out like this, like the Bill Finger thing, and then this comes up, and you're like, doesn't work. That didn't happen.
Yeah, fans, listen to us. It's never going to be as good as what you're in your head before it's coming out. Like, you have your head canon. You have made this perfect image in your head, and you're setting yourself up for disappointment most of the time.
They have headcanon of the movie before the movie comes up, and then when it doesn't match up to it, then there's like, this movie is crap. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. You built that up for yourself in that.
Okay.
So
that's our tangent from the Dark Knight talk.
From the Dark Knight Batsuit. But I mean, they're both similar in the fact that they're both somewhat armored up. He is a Batman in his early years. And he's also on some form of a motorcycle or bat cycle. Yeah. In the set pics, at least. I just wish that they had done a full reveal before these pictures came out, so that it didn't feel like this revealed anything.
It's like they have no set security in the UK. It's weird. It's strange.
Well, also
so many leaks. Even right now at the time of this recording, it's it's a lot.
There's probably going to be more by the time this gets released, too. Yeah. And I'm like, well, look, when you film in public place, there's always going to be that risk, even if you got all that security. But at least account for it, in my opinion. Yeah. At least account for it and release that, so that when the set pics come out, you're just like, all right, well, it kind of looks like crap, but like that's the stunt thing, clearly, because this is what it looks like in the thing.
Oh, and there's also stunt shots of, from the Dark Knight. And it's not the best Batsuit in the world, but, the stunt guys look a little goofy. Yeah. Go back and look at Bale's stuntmen. Yeah. I mean, they're badass. They can do a bunch of stunts and stuff. But the suits, it's because of, the nature of fast action and stuff. Yeah. It's, the suits aren't quite as good.
Yeah, pretty much. So
frumpy. They're kind of frumpy.
Yeah. I did kind of like... There's that video that went around where the stuntman, he's on the motorcycle, and as he passes by, he just crashes.
Yeah, well, he crashes in
I'm like, in the video. Not a good representation of it. But
they're just having fun, and he just had a Guinness or some shit, whatever the Scottish... I know Guinness is Irish, but they're in Glasgow right now, so... Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, so we'll see, but... Obviously, we're still going to see it. We're still going to cover it in the podcast. It's not like
I can't imagine a world in which I do not see this movie.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's one of those cases where be careful of your expectations.
Yeah, manage your expectations. Yes. I also, last thing, there is something inside me where I do really miss the bat ears on the chest symbol.
Yeah, I agree with that too.
I do. It's like I need it. I really need it.
It wasn't like when I first saw it, I was like, oh, I hate it. And then people pointed out the 39 connection. I'm like, okay, well, that could be cool. And then now I'm back to, oh, I hate it. Because it's again, as I said, like it reminds me so much of the rest of the picture of the 39 costume. And I'm just like, either you go all the way or you don't. Don't give me bits and pieces of it.
And it just feels like Matt Reeves is just nerdy enough to lean into the 39 stuff more than any other director ever has.
This would have been the opportunity to do it, because how many Batman in the early years movies are you realistically going to make in this lifetime?
He's going to keep killing his parents, man.
I don't know. Killing the parents.
I don't know.
So, I don't know. We'll see how it goes on that, but those are our thoughts on...
Wait, so Dark Knight suit versus Pattinson suit right now?
Right now?
Oh, it's bad, huh?
Oh, man. I don't know,
it's that bad.
Man. Pattinson...
Pattinson's better than Dark Knight.
I'm still gonna go with Pattinson.
It is more comic booky and it looks more Adam Westy.
Slightly with the cowl.
The nose part.
Like I like the cowl better. Yeah. Just in general, it doesn't look, there's no bobblehead feel to that. The collar thing's a little weird, but we'll see how it works out. They're both somewhat overly armored, but here's another thing. There's my issue with the Dark Knight suit. It felt like Bale looked smaller.
Gotcha.
In the Dark Knight suit, compared to how he looked like in Begins. It made him look less of the urban legend beast that he was in the first one. This one, at least from the stunt pics, he still looks big. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, okay, I'm cool with that. Yeah. Especially because I think this is a scenario where Pattinson may need a little bit of the extra bulk in the suit.
There's some set reports, and again, it is rumors, Hollywood rumor shit, but that Pattinson is kind of a hard gainer. He's trying to put on weight, but it is just not happening.
Again, it could have worked with the 39 type of costume with him in that physique, because the physique of Bruce Wayne, as he was originally drawn, was not some hulking Schwarzenegger-looking Jim Lee drawn.
They literally didn't have steroids at that time, too. I think.
That too.
So how you looked at muscle was different, probably.
He looked like probably just the regular lithe acrobatic type of body, because that's the type of feat that he would have to do as Batman in terms of leaping over people's heads and beating them up. And it'd be awesome if they could incorporate a little bit of the acrobatic type of things that he would have to do too.
Right.
But I understand that sometimes you got to just pick and choose in terms of what elements you want to do. Do you want to do, like, if he's, Batfleck size, probably not too realistic for him to do somersaults over somebody's head.
No. Batfleck can't.
He would just fall right on top of him.
Can't jump without the grappling hook. Lift me up.
Talking about a good 250 pounds or something.
He can't do it, man. He can do those fucking cross fit ropes. That's it.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah.
Battle ropes.
Yeah. So I would rank the Battinson costume over it, but I would still prefer the Batfleck suit, and I would still prefer Keaton Kilmer's suits as well over those. Maybe a little bit of Clooney's. The main Clooney suit in Batman and Robin isn't that terrible, actually. Sure, people point out the nipples.
Bold statements
but
up in
again,
here.
but again, the nipples, you can easily ignore them. It's not a big thing. It's just one element of.
What about the butt?
Thing. Well, you can't ignore
Bat
that.
butt.
It's in one shot, though. That's in one shot. I mean, thank God there was no bat butt in The Dark Knight, but until now. Boom. Wait, hold on.
Oh, man. For the camera. YouTube version. but up to the fucking camera.
But, no, sorry, I said that. But, luckily there was no shot of that. But hopefully, we don't have to worry about that type of stuff anymore. I don't think they're going to do that.
Right.
So, we'll see. But I think that about wraps it up when it comes to The Dark Knight, because, man, we've been talking about this, and we're maybe about 30 minutes into the movie so far.
That's part one.
This is part one of the deep dive in The Dark Knight, and right now we are at a tie with Comics 4, Movie 4.
Thanks for keeping track of that, man.
Yeah, no problem.
I will do that next time.
No problem.
Hold me to it, Internet.
We will. So, once again, I am Ben Juan Ryder on Instagram, as well as curate the Instagram Superhouse Pod, as well as do the Twitter on Superhouse Pod. Also, shout outs to our followers, so Cookie Noms, as well as the ones I listed earlier. So, once again, that's World of Mara, Heroic Gateway, Best Batman Facts, John Reagan, aka Shadowverse ENT, Believe Land Management, Paul Gabriel, Batman.mg_blogger, Stephen Walden, Ultra Bra P04 Gaming, Jose GTZ _00, and Midget 11 Soul. That was a lot.
We have more than usual.
We have more than usual on our shout outs.
Matt Herring as well,
Yes.
and Alicia.
Yes.
We already got Cookie Noms, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So there you go. Anybody else? I think that might be
Shasta Army.
Oh my God, yeah. Well, that's associated with Patreon.
Yeah.
Patreon.com/Superhouse Podcast, our $1 tier. Please join the Shasta Army, everybody. That's just $1 to support Superhouse and to also get a shout out, just like you've heard here, and or very similar to.
Yes.
And let's see. I'm Thunderwolf Drew. Drew on Instagram and Twitter, and I think that's it. The other thing, again, use your voice recorder app on your phone, and then record something like "Superhouse is awesome," or "I fucking love Superhouse," or something. You're now listening to Superhouse, or send us something fucking weird.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To superhousepodcast@gmail.com. So yeah. That would be awesome if you could do that. We'll put that in the podcast as long as it's not too weird or incriminating or something like that. But, have fun with it. Become part of Superhouse. Be on the episode, maybe several times. So, please do that. And I think that might be it. Superhousepod.com. We're on there. And wherever your social media is, we're there. And anything else?
That is pretty much it. So that is the end of our outro. Once again, we are Superhouse Podcast, the podcast you deserve and the one you need right now for all things Batman.
That's good.
So
you should write copy.
Join us next time. Same bat channel. The Dark Knight Part 2 coming up.